Big stuff is happening in DC20, y'all. We got other content creators looking and interested out and talking about DC20. We got other people wanting to play it. We got YouTubers that are going to be coming together in a video here shortly and doing another live playtest to show you guys. And I got none other than Treantmonk himself, Chris, over here that wants to talk about DC20. Chris has been a huge champion of this game and has warmed my heart to see him dive into it and really see what this game's about, get it, and be excited about it. We played together. He did a whole bunch of playtests off on his own, and now we're going to come and talk about what are his top 3 favorite things that separates DC20 from the rest. As usual, if we talk about anything that sparks your interest, you can always check out more about DC20, whether it be videos, picking up the thing for yourself, and more down below. All right, let's get to it. What's up, guys? We have Treantmonk here. I wanted to welcome you to the channel, Treantmonk, and I'm going to start things off with thanking you. I'm going to maybe make you blush here at the beginning, but Chris Treantmonk has been one of the biggest, if not the biggest, force of people to be flooded over from a video you made about 3 months back or so. You shed some light on DC20 and the community exploded and all this hype and all the stuff. I felt the hype, felt the energy. So I just wanted to start off by saying thank you, man.
Well, I'm glad it brought some people over. I'm part of the hype and part of the excitement. Well,
right. And then, so speaking of that, you had to have had some things that caused you to get bit by the DC20 bug and stuff. You said, I think at one point you told me you stayed up till 5 a.m. or something going through the rules. But my questions to you here, I want to dive into is what are the top 3 things that like separated DC20 or stood out or excited you the most about DC20?
Well, there were certain in my initial video, I talked about the things that were really exciting for me at the time. But I think I've narrowed it down to a few. Having playtested multiple times now.
Ooh. Okay.
There's certain things that stand out to me as I just really like them in play. The first thing for me is so you have this 4-action system. With most systems, you can do a certain number of things on your turn, whether it's an action and a bonus action and a move or 3 actions or whatever it is. But the difference that I really like in DC20 is because you can do the off-turn stuff.
Reactions,
Normally, especially if you're playing online, I take my turn, boop, 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 and then it's like, all right, tell me when my next turn comes up.
Let me go to my second screen. What am I doing over here?
Sorry. Is it my turn?
Solitaire. I mean,
but with DC20, there's, if you're a marshal, you've got 3 different reactions that you might take, and there's no you could spend all 4 actions on those reactions if that's the right thing for you to do.
That's what you want, yeah.
And if you are a spellcaster, you don't need, like in D&D, of course, you have counterspell, but in DC20, you don't necessarily need counterspell because you have the spell duel, right? Yes. Which is 2 actions. So somebody casts they cast like a burning hands, and you're like, oh yeah, ray of frost.
Nope.
So you kind of want to keep your eye open because there's so many things you could do in between that and I think player disengagement off turn is one of the worst things about D&D.
Honestly, I completely agree because I've experienced that in the playtest in person because I feel it at the table, and anytime I've played online, there's times where people can do certain things, and depending on your character, depending on how you build them, you can have more or less. So it's not crazy complicated that everything you do is off your turn, and you're like, you have a couple of things that you probably chose to have to be able to do off your turn. Like you're saying, defensive maneuvers to protect an ally, opportunity attacks are obviously classic, spell duels. Another thing that I haven't necessarily told you before, so this might be a sneak peek here for you on that too, is the spell system. Whenever the spell system gets overhauled and updated, there are going to be spells you can choose, including cantrips, to allow spellcasters to have potential types of opportunity attacks, like shocking grasp types of things, where if they leave your range, you can quick little zaps, specifically certain spells with them that you choose to have. Another class features, bards are also having some reaction help mechanic type things to be able to, the bard type of feel play style.
And you're adding something that's not even going to take a reaction that will come in off turn as well, and that's grit, right?
You're so good, man. I'm serious. Like you like know the game so well. It's so cool, and it just warms my heart for someone else to be in there with me on that. So yeah, Grit Points is the new addition to the game where you can, as a reaction, you just give an ally advantage on saves.
Right? It's not.
That's true. It's just
not in action at all. Yeah. So you won't just be limited to your 4 actions. Even if you are out of actions, you still might want to keep an eye on what's going on, because your ally gets targeted with something. You want to help them out. You got a grip point.
Right.
Yeah.
Even more engagement.
You got
exactly.
it, man.
Yeah. Get it, go. Yeah. So, and that was, I literally wrote down all of the different types of things you can do off turn, and you actually hit grip points before I could. So, well done on that. So yes, the engagement too, though, it's been really cool to see the engagement, but they're engaging with each other, which then tackles into the team feel of the game, to where you feel like you're doing and accomplishing stuff together. Whether you're a warlord commanding somebody to make an attack together, you're doing help action things together. It just feels more engaged and together. So yeah, I love that. What's your next one?
Next one is sorry, I wrote them down so I wouldn't forget which one I wanted to talk about next.
I think I wrote yours down too.
Martial classes. They shouldn't be a surprise. I think anyone who's playtested DC20 knows maneuvers and techniques are pretty cool, and very new for people who are used to playing D&D, to have every single martial have access to this huge list of options that they can take with their character.
Well, and also just to make sure everyone is up to date. So like what we said before, Chris's first thing is you have 4 action points. You can spend action points off your turn on these certain reaction type of things you can do, instead of just one reaction and then it's gone. You can spend the 4 action points, which is your entire action economy. You can spend them on the stuff, but then when your turn comes back around, now you only have this many left over, and then you spend them at the end of your turn, you get them back. So it stays nice and fluid and balanced and stuff. And then for martial maneuvers, you can spend, how it works is you make an attack, and whenever you spend an action point to make an attack, you can spend additional action points to add extra effects, add extra damage, add extra stuff, maneuvers onto this special combo move or whatever attack you're doing.
And
so
while we're talking about maneuvers, I was wondering if I could ask you a rules question that came up in my last playtest.
Let's go.
Last time I didn't play a martial, but I played a scion who does have access to the grapple maneuvers. And we were fairly clear on the rules for initiating a grapple. What we weren't sure about, we couldn't find it, was, does it cost an action or a reaction or anything to drop a grapple?
Oh no, it's you can freely let someone go.
You can just let them go whenever?
You just let them go. Yeah. So physically and mentally, if you're talking about for martials, if you have somebody grappled, you can just be like, okay, I release my hands, And in the same type of concept for the scion, it would just be like, I no longer am like focusing on, grappling them mentally.
I had big bad guy grappled prone. It was pretty nice.
Oh, wait, as a scion?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
at a distance. He was way over there. I'm like,
stay down. Oh man, that's cool.
Yeah.
And in the 0.6 update, the Scion, when we released, well, first of all, 0.4 Scion had a telekinesis, but it was like more of a magical, fluttery telekinesis. The updated version, which is the one you're playing now, is like, it's basically grappling with your mind. It's it feels a lot better, especially the way you made it sound just then. That's super sick. And then with that, there's been a couple of things like, oh, well, what about this? Like mental grappling. There's some weird stuff that happens. So there's going to be some cleanup and clarification in the 0.6 rules as far as that goes too. So love to see that. And honestly, where that came from is before I really shifted over entirely to DC20 and started developing this whole game, I was literally like a month or 2 away or so from releasing a fighter rework. Like I did it for the Ranger, I think. I did it for the Bard. The fighter was next, and I was going to, surprise, surprise, make the core identity of the fighter class from D&D the Battlemaster Fighter. And all fighters would have the martial dice or superiority dice or whatever it's called. And fighters, that would be their thing. They get dice that they can use to make maneuvers, right? And I thought that's the fighter, that's maneuvers, weapon maneuvers, like that's the thing. And then as soon as we ship, all right, well, that's not going to be a thing anymore. DC20, all martials get maneuvers because that's just what they do. That's a rogue should be able to do cool maneuvers. Same as a barbarian, fighter, ranger.
I can tell you what the Scion needs in the next update. So in your most recent update, you gave the Scion more spells. And when I made a Scion, what I noticed was so in your base features, you got like your Mind Blast and you got your telepathy, and then you have so few spells to select from that you choose your telepathy cantrip and your Mind Blast cantrip, and they do the same things. It's like I could already do those, but I have no other selections. They need 2 more spells.
Oh, right.
You need to make 2 more spells that Scions can select, because 100%. Right now they have to select spells that are things they can already do through the base spells.
Right. No, and the biggest thing, and I feel like I don't know how to describe this, but all the different things it involves with making a game. The thing I want to do the most, that I have to just for the priority purposes, is spells. I want to so badly just be like, all right, I'm gonna stop production on everything and just dive into spells and take all and just make a full, because right now in DC20 you're supposed to have 3 spell lists: arcane, primal, and divine, and you would be able to choose from these lists, and that is not possible right now in DC20 because how I've done it for the alpha is you have these pre-prescribed organized spell lists, and the Scion came after the rest of the core, wizard, sorcerer, the standard classes. So I had a fire version, a lightning version, an ice version, a mental version, which then the Scion just inherited, right? So there's a lot. So the same mental spell list that a wizard and sorcerer could have to roleplay that, or to have that type of feel for a spellcaster, the Scion just kind of gets that, but then they have already some of those features exactly like what you're saying. So
it was just I was looking at I forget, I picked like 3 cantrips, and I had 4 to select from, and 2 of them I could already do. Yeah, and it's like, okay, well, what's the 3rd cantrip for? Right?
For sure, because I wanted to give Scions more spells, but then since it's in the alpha and we don't have more spells, it's kind of like a wasted upgrade.
You need another cantrip and another 1st level enchantment spell.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we're going to get more spells in 0.6 with the 3 new classes being added of Druid, Bard, and Warlock. So I'm going to actually look to see if some of those could be added to the Scion spell list, to see if that just solves that problem for you. But a good point there. And as soon as all the spells are released, then hopefully the Scion will have plenty of options at that point. But love that. So hit me with your 3rd one.
All right, 3rd one. This is maybe my favorite, is the 1-roll attack and damage. I very recently did a video going over the MCDM new RPG where they only have 1 roll too.
Right.
But it's just
they went the opposite direction. Right.
It's just a damage roll.
Yeah.
And I couldn't help but think, like, I played it, play tested it. It was good. It was fun. I liked it. But I couldn't help but think, you can do an attack roll and damage roll in 1 roll.
Right. We actually just did. We just played it. Yeah,
we did that.
Yeah. And about that too, is that was one of the interesting features as soon as more stuff came out about MCDM's system, about like we went technically the same direction of having it be 1 roll.
That's right. In D&D, you make an attack roll, then you make a damage roll. And in both systems, you guys have gone down to 1 roll, which is just more efficient.
And it solves so many problems. I think it solves timing. It solves like the speed of everything, the amount of bad feelings at the table of rolling high and then rolling low damage or missing, and then so it lots of benefits in both ways. And I at first was like, I when I first heard the only deal damage, I didn't like it, but I do really understand the concept they're going for of being whittled down and all that kind of stuff and all of that. But I do really like having it be an attack roll that then determines damage, because you can miss, you can swing and having that happen, I think, is an important part of the battle back and forth feel. But at the same time, you go for it.
Sorry, with DC20, this is one of the things too that I read and then I played it, and the one thing that surprised me playing it is that when you read it, it sounds like, oh well, my damage is going to be 2. unless I roll really,
Always.
really well. It's going to be
I
2,
only
2, 2,
deal
2,
2
2.
damage.
Oh, woo, I did 3 this time, right? But we found that wasn't the case at all. We found that, the damage is way more dynamic than we had originally thought.
And so you made me think of two things. The one is what you just said. Because there is a base damage, and this works for spells too, there's a base damage, but because that roll could go 5, every 5 over adds more. And, oh, you're a barbarian, you are raging now. Ooh, you're a rogue, the target has a certain condition on it. Ooh, you're all these different class features and
you're
different
any
tweaks.
class and you want to spend an extra action point for advantage.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So there's the damage you deal is always so different, and that one of the biggest feedbacks I've gotten of people thinking one thing coming into it, and the biggest change is that they thought they would miss rolling for damage. And some of the craziest feedback, and then I feel bad about, is I thought I would miss rolling for damage, but after playing a full session, I never missed it once. It actually,
that's because they were rolling for damage. Right. Yeah.
So
they were
true.
rolling their D20
in the
for
form
damage.
of a D20 that mattered the scale of how big the D20 was, which is all the And then what's also been funny is people that I've play tested with and then like kept in touch with after for whatever. They weren't just people that at a convention or something. In talks with after, I've gotten some heat from those people, because now when they go play D&D, they're like, man, I can't tell you, it really stands out like a sore thumb now when someone rolls for damage and they have to collect all the dice and then roll all the dice and then add them all up. And I'm like, oh my gosh, if this was, so that's been a funny feeling too, to feel that, like, especially when I was playing D&D before my D&D campaign was done with now, those moments would happen. I'm like, man, DC20 would just be a little bit faster. So yep.
Yeah, and you're originally like reading the rules, you see some things do 1 damage and you're like, ooh, but there's so much damage added from that scaling that it's not as big a difference as you think it'll be. Right.
100%. Well, and another thing that just popped in my head too is I had one of the final sessions of the Curse of Strahd game I was running. One of my players rolled really high, and they just said 20 something. Because indeed that happens all the time in D&D when they just like, oh, it hits. Who cares? I didn't get a natural 20. I rolled a 19 on the dice. I'm not excited. It's a 20 something. It hits. You know what I'm saying? And that just feels so bad that should be an exciting moment. That should be like, oh, 19 plus it's this. Oh, that's a brutal. So now I add. Yeah. So love that. There's your top 3. I love the top 3, and I love that
I'm jumping in with the top 4. One more.
I'm not going to stop yet. Go for it. All
right. So one other thing I really like is that so I can take a spell. I'm going to pull one up here just so I don't misname things.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So I want to cast Command. So I can cast Command, or I can spend a magic point, and I can increase the duration. I can spend 2 magic points. I can add targets. I can with which one's the fire one where you can choose the different
firebolt or
firebolt
burning flames.
I can do a cone or
burning flames, line, cone, or sphere. You can add a burning condition.
That's right. So it combines so many different. You take one spell and you can do so many different things with the same spell. And as you level up, the spell gets better, right?
As you get better at spellcasting, that's very true too. That's very true. Yeah,
because there's so many spells like in D&D where I love the sleep spell at level 1.
Right.
But at level 5, I'll never. I don't even care if it's on my list anymore.
Right. Well, oh my gosh, it's so true.
And there's a lot of spells like that. But if they're always getting better, and your spells are kind of growing with you.
Well, in D&D, if D&D were to solve your problem, they would have to make another sleep spell, like major sleep or something. They have to create another spell at a certain spell slot that's only that spell slot, and then, or it's the sometimes clunky and not worth it upcasting of the spell to then So another thing that I think is something that people haven't realized, and I think you have though, is whenever you are leveling up, as you level up and learn more spells in D&D, if you want to play I want to play a dominator, command, dominate person, charming, all that type of stuff, there's certain spells you have to pick, and as you level up, like you just said with sleep, you would have if you know dominate beast, you would have to pick dominate person in order to be able to dominate person and keep playing the way that you want to play in the style or flavor that you were going for. But in DC20, if you choose dominate, you have the dominate spell, and at first it only dominates beast, and you pump more mana into it. Now it can dominate a person, and you don't have to keep choosing the same upgraded version of spells, which in general you don't have as many spells, but I think that's a benefit because you can cast them in so many different ways. It's like you have more spells.
I prefer because also when you're playing in D&D and you're playing spellcast, especially when you get into higher levels, it's hard to keep track of all the spells you have, right? This way it's a lot easier to organize when you just have a handful of spells, but they have more effects you can do with them, right? Yeah.
And if you're thinking about all right, what do I want to do on my turn? If you're in D&D mode and you have all these spell slots that are organized across slots and all these different things, you have to look through all these different slots. How many slots do I have available? Where are those things? And all instead of a DC20 version, or would be, all right, even if I'm a mid or high level spellcaster, I have a solid amount of spells. Let's just say I have even 10 spells, but I know what each of them do. Burning flames. Do I want to catch somebody on fire? I'm going to go here, and I can go and amplify it as much as I want. Do I want to dominate a person's mind? Do I want to put someone to sleep? And it's so cleanly in their pockets of what they do that you know how to quickly go through your turn. So maybe we'll see in the future, because nobody's really played high level spellcasters in DC20, but we'll really start to see the benefits of the system when you don't have the spellcasters okay, 1 second. And it'll just be
we found it even again in our playtest. So one of the other players was playing a wizard, and they can reduce the mana point by one, and so he had burning flames.
And he amped it.
So he had the range he could put on there, and then so he could have a cone appear halfway across the map or whatever.
That's good. That's so cool. That's so cool. I love it. So you threw in a fourth one there for your spell casting. That's cool, man. I love to hear too, just the perspective of what people's rules are the favorites, and certain rules that I was worried about people's reception to, like the attack check, not rolling for damage. I knew that was going to be a spicy one, but to see that actually land and feel good, and people oh wow, okay, you know what, that's super cool, especially for
me. It's a win for sure. I can't speak for everyone, but I love it.
Oh man, I have to get you back in on another play test and let you get your hands and stuff before. So y'all stay tuned, stay waiting. Treantmonk will be making an appearance back in the channel. But thank you for coming on. Thank you for everything you've done for DC20 in general, and I seeing how much you know about the game. I just respect the hell out of it, man. I appreciate you.
Well, I can't wait to get my hands on the book.
And you guys, I'm gonna have Treantmonks links and descriptions all down below. If y'all are interested in some of the stuff that Chris here has talked about DC20, and you're a little interested in it, y'all can check out the link down below. The link down below in this video on my channel will be his affiliate link. So
it helps me out too. Thank you very much.
Helps him out too, because that's what I'm trying to do here as well. So thanks again, man.
Thank you.